Hey guys, PIEGUYRULZ here. I am with Kuro the Artist.
Happy to be here, Pie Guy.
And as a lot of you probably know, Ben 10 on this channel has been kind of just a punchline. I don't think I've ever done any videos about that specifically. I think maybe the last time I actually in depth talked about Ben 10 was I think maybe I mentioned something about the live action movie during the CN Real era 10 years ago, maybe. But a lot of times in live streams and stuff, when people ask me about it, I kind of make a joke like Ben 10 spin-offs, am I right? And the truth is, I saw the original show. I swear at some point in my life I've seen at least Alien Force, but that has flown from my memory. So I am pretty kind of ignorant about most of the Ben 10 franchise as a whole. And Kuro here, you're a little bit of a fan of Ben 10?
A little is a bit of an understatement. I would say I devoted the majority of my interest in all media ever probably to Ben 10. It's a very important and special show to me, and
Right.
I like to pick at all the positive and negatives of it.
There's not a lot of characters that could beat Goku in a fight, so it makes sense.
Oh no, totally not.
So anyway, I figure all right, cool. I got an expert here, and I'm kind of a noob. So instead of giving a proper review of any of the shows or anything, why don't I have him give me a bunch of random episodes from each of the shows, aside from the reboot. I will give my best to review the episode, having no context from any of the episodes around them, and having only a familiarity with the original show and little tiny bits and pieces from the other shows. And then after I give my review, we'll talk about it. He's gonna correct me on probably a lot of things, and yeah. So, do you wanna give an explanation of why you chose the first episode, which is from the original Ben 10, season 3, episode 4, Merry Christmas?
Okay. So this episode, I chose it because with all the episodes I chose, I tried to choose the episodes that would probably confuse someone incredibly with no knowledge whatsoever. And this is a very special episode because not only is it an incredibly forced holiday themed episode, but all the original series episodes, at least, the show does its best to explain why things are, even if it doesn't scientifically make sense. And this episode just happens out of nowhere. Everything that happens in it has no explanation, and then it's over. So
yeah. So this
yeah.
was the one episode I have seen of this bunch, and I remember seeing it as a kid and not liking it then either. This has to be one of the, if not the worst episodes of the original show. So basically, Ben, Gwen, and Max come across this Christmas village in the middle of nowhere, abandoned, they think, and they go inside because it's really hot and they hope it'll be cold. And basically they meet an elf king person who kidnaps Max because he bears a passing resemblance to Santa Claus. And then Ben and Gwen have to save him from this elf guy who can control nutcrackers and evil reindeer and snow monsters and just all Christmas themed things. This episode is not a very good Christmas episode, and it's not a very good episode in general. The thing is, in terms of the Christmas theme, about 10 minutes in, Max mentions just kind of almost out of the blue that he has never spent a Christmas with both of them together, which is, that's pretty sad. I don't know what kind of family would let their kid go away with their grandfather on vacation for the whole summer, and yet they don't even see him at Christmas time. But maybe he alternates between Ben and Gwen's families. But yeah, he mentions that, and then it's kind of a joke where Ben and Gwen ditch him right after. And then at the end of the episode, all of a sudden, Max gives a speech about how Christmas isn't about presents, it's about spending time with your family. And then Gwen and Ben both back that up, and Ben has a dumb joke about sumo slammers because he really likes sumo slammers. Even out of these 4 random episodes you picked, he mentions sumo slammers in almost all of them.
I didn't even realize that.
So the thing is, it's not an episode about Ben learning the true meaning of Christmas and stop being so greedy or sumo slammer focus, which you think it might be. It's just literally this moral is brought almost out of the blue. It's used as a punchline earlier in the episode. So the moral and the whole spirit of Christmas is not anywhere present in this episode. It's mostly just an excuse to have kind of Christmas themed enemies. But the problem is also that the story is just stupid. It's flat out stupid, where there's this curse going on where anyone in this town turns into an elf, and the head elf guy wants Santa Claus, and he's controlling and evil, and it doesn't make any sense because they break the curse at the end of the episode by delivering presents to people on not Christmas, and apparently breaking the curse means that everyone goes back to the way they were before the curse happened. Like they went back in time and lived their lives, and there's no explanation about where any of this comes from. It's just magic. They just say magic. There's not really an explanation as to why or how the Elf King can control like all these. Why does he, if no one visits this Christmas village, why does he have so many enemies to send at Ben and Gwen? Like, why are there evil anything in the first place? And then the episode is weird. Like, but like, to give an example, Ben and Gwen start turning into elves, but that doesn't actually impact anything. Like, there's a ticking clock where they'll permanently turn all the way into elves if they're there too long in this arbitrary amount of time. But for some reason, like, they start turning into elves and they just kind of have these weird beady eyes and long ears for the rest of the episode. It doesn't affect Ben's aliens, which might have actually been a cool thing to see a slight design change in them. But it's just like this weird little quirk of the episode. Another weird thing is that towards the end of the episode, Ben turns into gray matter and goes inside this machine, at which point music starts playing like it's chiptune and Ben platforms across like he's in a floodless level of Super Mario Sunshine. What does that have to do with Christmas? I couldn't tell you. It's not like. And then, of course, this is also the infamous episode where, at the end, for no reason, no explainable reason, there's 3 Naruto characters as babies. I know I'm not doing a great job of reviewing this episode, but honestly, the whole thing feels like just kind of a lot of emptiness. It's a lot of empty fighting of, like, generic holiday-themed things until this one elf, for some reason, this one elf is friendly. Not the rest of them aren't, or they're too enslaved, or what have you. He tells Ben and Gwen something's up, or like that their grandpa is kidnapped, and then there's more fighting, going inside the machine, and then they rescue Max, and the King Elf is like, he gives this half-hearted explanation of what's going on, and then they deliver presents, and then they act like there's this moral. And that's it. That's the episode. I would guess the writers really resented having to do a Christmas episode, so they made it the stupidest thing possible. All right, so that's my review. Did I get anything wrong?
Honestly, you hit all the points right on the money. Like, despite not being like remotely close to the fandom, the episode is that ridiculous. So like the whole them needing a new Santa to replace whoever was there in the first place. I guess the jingle guy. The elf, like none of any of that is explained. It doesn't even say if like, are they real elves? How were they able to pause time? Where are they getting these presents from? Who are they delivering these presents to? How does that reset time? It's like, it's really an episode where everything that happens has no explanation. So that, yeah,
the only thing that gets lip service, and at least it gets this. At least they didn't try to claim this was an alien thing, because when, and I guess we'll talk about this later, but just kind of when you go the alien route, typically it should make some sort of sense, but at least they gave the magic excuse, and basically the explanation for all of it is this, what do they call it, like the Jingulator or something?
Yeah, the Jingulator.
This nebulous machine, and gray matter's like, I see, it rearranges the isotopes to make a special field of, like, it's just complete nonsense, and then he just touches it and he turns it off.
It reminded me of like one of the levels from like I don't know if you Battle for Bikini Bottom.
Oh, of course.
Wait, no, was it that? Either that or the movie game. One of those, like, you were Patrick and you were just jumping in this void of cubes. And it looks exactly like that episode.
That would be the movie game, and that's based off of Super Mario Sunshine.
Yeah, okay, well, yeah, so there you go. It's like, absolutely everything in that episode makes no sense.
Yeah.
Including the fact that the elf thing, I agree, it doesn't affect his aliens, because normally other things do. Like, in one episode, Ben breaks his arm, therefore all of his aliens have broken arms for the time. Or if
doesn't he get a cold in one episode of the original show?
Yeah. In fact, there's two different episodes where he gets sick. One in the first and one in the second series, and his aliens get sick. But here it's like, why is he an elf? They just want to draw him as an elf.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm trying to think. I mean, I don't know. So I guess some of like the action stuff accelerate getting stuck on ice and then giving a snowball fight. Like, that's amusing, I guess. I don't know. It's it like the episode does kind of take a while to actually do anything, because a lot of it is just like, why? Okay, and here's a question: why can't gray matter actually fix the air conditioning unit in the beginning of the episode? like like
I have no answer. He built a gun that can shoot a beam as powerful as the sun out of some random junk in one episode, and here he can't fix the freaking air conditioning.
I know.
I don't know.
He's smart enough to understand what a jingulator, the magic device, and how to shut it down, but yeah, he can't fix. Oh, I just rearranged the Freon unit and blah, 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 blah. I don't know. Maybe the rust bucket is just beyond fixing in that case.
It's too advanced than the jingulator.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have much else to say. It's just,
It's bad.
yeah, like, usually, honestly, a bad Christmas special can at least kind of disguise it by giving a good message or, like,
Yeah, there's no message. There's no point to this. They didn't learn anything.
they just pay lip service. Like it's so stupid too because Max is like, oh, well, the spirit of Christmas is about being together, but they literally ditched you in the episode. Like they weren't together with you, and for no reason too. Max would have gone sledding with them. Max is cool, dude. I wouldn't ditch Max for anything. He's Solid Snake, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, no, he is. He is in those games. He's most known for like Metal Gear games. He was like some famous Transformer in like the Generation 1 things, but he's Grandpa Max to me.
All right, I'm ready to move on.
Oh yeah, here we are getting to the worst episode of all time. So this will be a fun one.
Yep, once again, we're season 3, episode 4 of the TV show Ben 10 Alien Force, and I try to be clear about this because it's confusing. The names of these series is. So would you explain why you picked this one, my friend?
Okay, so Ben 10's a show where the reason there's so many different series is because so many different writers wanted to have their own take on the show. So arguably, at least from my opinion and from the people I've talked to, Ben 10 Alien Force, the first 2 seasons are the best of all 4 series. Like it's the absolute best it can be. So it's sort of frustratingly ironic that the very following season contains some of the worst episodes all time. It's absolutely horrible. So there's this theory going around where there's hints where they had a 3rd season in development and Cartoon Network said they couldn't do it. So they just wrote all of these episodes to fill in the time.
You're saying that Ben 10 Alien Force was made so that specifically for this episode. Like someone had a vision of this episode and they knew they couldn't put it in the first 2 seasons because it was just too good.
Well, no, it's actually the opposite. It's the opposite. They had a vision for the 3rd season of the 2nd series. So season 3 of Ben 10 Alien Force, they weren't allowed to do it.
Huh.
So they wrote all of these random season 3 episodes just to fill time. And this episode, they wanted to create aliens that had some type of weird characteristic, and one writer said, yeah, it should be like they're pooping gold or something, and then another writer said, no, it should be exactly that, thus creating the worst episode with the worst plot line.
Is that a theory or is that what happened?
No, that actually was confirmed. The 2 writers, they were I believe it was Eugene Sun and Dwayne McDuffie talking about this.
Goodness.
And it's so heartbreaking to see the show climb so high and then produces this in the very next season.
You said produce.
Yeah, produce. You can go ahead and give your rundown of this.
I'll start by I'm going to start the rest of these by talking about the intro to this series. So the intro to the original Ben 10 is awesome. Awesome song, awesome visuals, really catchy. Still think about it from time to time despite having not seen the show in 10 years. This intro is like it's like the DVD instrumental that you'd put on like a DVD, like on the menu. And I almost fell asleep during it. I'm sorry. The visuals were like okay, but it's the one where it's literally a slow instrumental of the first show's theme song. It's basically it's kind of like the Justice League, like the original Justice League, or I guess I shouldn't say the original, but the most well-known version of the Justice League theme song, where it's just kind of that level of slow and building. But it works in Justice League when you start this franchise off on a really cool kick-butt song, and then you decide to slow it down, remove the lyrics. I'm sorry, I feel like I'm on a DVD menu. Okay, so with that out of the way, the story of this episode is that there is a group of small, annoying, chattery aliens that is obsessed with corn. They come down every 17-ish years to this one random town to gorge on popcorn and excrete gold, and basically they treat it like a spring break. They're rowdy, but the town doesn't care because they excrete gold. One of these aliens goes missing, and then it turns out that the mayor captured it. Spoilers, I guess. We'll get into why that's not a spoiler. But the mayor captured it and then fed it meat, and feeding it meat. Oh, God, I sound like an insane person explaining this episode. Feeding it meat turns it into a giant monster, which then Ben, Gwen, and Kevin have to stop. So you picked an episode that was definitely weirder than Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
So the story of this episode is kind of almost like a random events plot, because every conflict that comes up gets kind of nullified like a second later, where the first thing is, so they get a mission from Grandpa Max, because apparently now this is like, they're going on missions instead of traveling around. But okay, so they get a mission where there's an alien that went missing. I think as of this show, like, aliens just kind of exist and hang out, and some people know about them and some don't. I don't think it's meant to be funny, but it's funny because in the beginning of the episode, when Gwen, Ben, and Kevin show up in the town, the mayor tries to cover up for aliens. He's like, there's no aliens here. It was sunspots and blah, blah, blah. And then he's saying this to Kevin, who at the time of this episode is a walking element. He is part crystal, part wood, part stone. He looks like a freak of nature. And this guy is like, oh, nothing weird's happening here, right? He's acting like he's supposed to cover up the aliens. And then as soon as Kevin or Ben or one of them is like, don't worry, we're plumbers, then he's like, oh, okay, yeah, no, never mind, I got you. It's like, okay, excuse me, freaky metal element kid. Don't worry about the aliens. Like, nothing weird's happening here. Oh, you're plumbers? Oh, okay, fine. That'll enable me to tell you the truth. Okay. And yes, I know that plumber is like their term. It's their weird term for alien hunter or someone who's
they're like an intergalactic police force.
Someone who's woke with aliens, basically, is how I wouldn't describe it. But anyway.
The space cops.
Anyway, so the first conflict is that they find, well, I guess the first conflict introduced is that there's an alien missing. But then these aliens are being rowdy and they destroy a farmhouse and Ben and Kevin fight them. But no, that's not a problem because no one cares because they literally poop gold. Okay, so then that was pointless. And then who kidnapped this one alien? Is it literally the only other character we were introduced to? The character who just went on about how they're so valuable for producing gold. It's such a shame that they only show up once every 17 years. And then, but the show doesn't even try to hide it because, like, literally the next scene after, like, I wonder where he is, we just cut to the guy owning it. And then that's solved because they find it, like, almost immediately. And then the thing turns into a giant monster, and it's like, don't step on the uranium poop, which we'll get to. And then Kevin does it, but there's no, like, consequence to it other than getting thrown around, so that conflict is over. And then they gotta fight the giant monster thing, but, like, how do we defeat it? Oh, I don't know. He's a poison it. Silicon is poison, or whatever. I think it's silicon. So Ben feeds himself to it. We'll get to that. And then that's nullified. But, like, that's basically how this episode goes, where it's just kind of like one thing is brought up and then it's immediately, like, shoved to the side. Pretty much the biggest problem I have with this episode is not the poop jokes. It's the aliens. So at least the previous episode we talked about had the magic excuse, but this is supposed to be an alien species. And yet, throughout the course of the episode, we find out that, okay, so these aliens that act like kind of like stoned when they're eating popcorn, they poop gold, they're ravenous for popcorn. We find out later they can't eat meat or else they turn into a monster. We find out then that monster can reproduce by dividing itself if it eats too much meat. Also, it poops radioactive waste instead of gold now. And then later, we find out that all he needs is electrical power to be able to divide instead of meat. And then we find out that silicon is poison. Like, I get it, hey, as humans, there's a lot of stuff that we're, like, we eat as poisonous, but they keep introducing new elements to this alien that just, they don't, it feels like the episode is making these elements up as they go along, and, like, the whole, if he eats too much meat, he'll turn into, or he'll be able to reproduce, that doesn't add up to anything, because he steals power to reproduce. Like, how is that an adequate substitute? Nothing about this alien's biology makes any lick of sense, and I know I'm saying that in Ben 10, where, like, there's a lot of weird aliens. I don't know if this is the series with the Lego alien.
Oh. Let's just not talk about the Lego alien.
Okay. Yeah, he doesn't show up in any of these episodes, although his gun does. But anyway, but the whole thing is, you should either establish up front or kind of, like, find a clever way to weave in what these aliens' powers are, or just have the powers kind of be like self-explanatory, like. But no, they just keep making stuff up with it, and it's just annoying because it's just stuff that's convenient to the story. Like, it's not, I don't know, it's not clever, it's not woven in. And then speaking of not clever, there's a number of poop jokes. And here's the thing. The poop jokes aren't gross. They're not gross. I'm not like, oh, I'm offended at this poop joke. No, they're just bad jokes. They're bad. Kevin makes a pun about like, oh man, this alien's making a lot of trouble. And then Gwen gives him a look, and he's like, get it? 'Cause I said make, and it's like a number 2. And it's just like, that's not a clever poop joke. Like, the episode thinks that it's... maybe it doesn't think it's being clever, because Gwen calls him out on it, but just, there's like 6 of these dumb poop jokes in the episode, and it would be fine. Honestly, I wouldn't care if it was just the one joke at the beginning of the episode where Kevin, like, bites the poop or whatever. Like, okay, there you go. That's a joke. You made it. You're done. But no, they go back to it several times. Like, they think that that's the thing of it. That's the focus of the episode that really needs several jokes and several talkings about. So then the last thing I'll close out with before you can kind of give your piece is just the aliens, at least the ones that I noted. Spider Monkey is pretty cool. I will give you that. He can shoot webbing out of his tail. I like his design. I like his powers. Cool. I don't really know how I feel about Goop. He's not in the episode for very long. I can't tell whether I really like him or really hate him, but he's there. Big Chill is also pretty sweet. From just the vague memory I do have, I feel like Big Chill is an alien that does get quite a bit of focus. He seems to have kind of like Ghost mixed with freezing powers, which is a cool combination that he can kind of phase through someone and freeze them. I can see why you made a Danny Phantom crossover comic now.
Yep.
And then Echo is another one I'm kind of split on, where...
Split?
I don't know how I feel about this alien, honestly. Again, I mean, he's not in the episode for very long, and Ben feeds himself as this Echo to the giant monster alien. And, like, I don't know. It's cool to have a dividing alien. I don't really see how that has anything to do with, like, sonic waves, like why he also has that power. But I don't know. I guess the thing is I could see potential for some interesting plot lines. And to be fair, Ben does use him in an interesting way in that he feeds himself to it. But my question for you, when you get onto your stuff here, first of all, is it Echo or Echo?
It's Echo.
Okay. Because I want to know if I sound like a complete idiot.
No, you're fine.
If he were to like feed half himself to this thing and then transform back, what would happen to him?
It's an interesting thing exclusive to him. So he has 2 aliens that split themselves, Ditto and Echo. Ditto, they all feel the same pain. They all share like some type of hive mind, and he needs all of them to come back together in order to transform back.
That sounds like it's an episode plot.
Yeah, it was in his debut.
Yeah.
Big surprise there. Echo, he's made of living sound waves, and the white containment suit that you see is just made of silicon. It's not actually him. It's more of something that keeps him together. And once they split off, they're done. Like, they can die.
Oh.
And he's fine. Yeah, in fact, there's one episode where like a whole bunch of them straight up actually do die, and Ben said he always keeps like a spare one in his trunk as a joke, or just in case all of them actually do die. He's got a spare life.
Okay, all right. I like Echo a lot more now.
Echo. He's pretty cool. He's one of those aliens I really fascinated by him, but it's just because you know of his like capabilities and powers, he really doesn't do too much that you would expect. Whereas Goop, I kind of like him. He can like make his goop acid. I don't remember if he does in that episode or whatnot, but he can like shoot acid and stuff.
He does in the next episode that we're going to talk about.
Okay. But yeah, so like every species, they at least try to give like a homeworld in a backstory to, like a Cannonbolt, the Rolly guy. They say his species are very non-violent and passive, so they like to roll away from predators, and Ben uses that as an offensive strategy, which makes aliens like the Lego gorilla frustrating, because it's like, how is there a whole planet about them? But yeah, about that episode, it really was it really was just nonsense, to be honest. It didn't really have any structure. You can tell it was just thrown together without much thought. The only redeeming part of it, I would say, is the whole side plot line with the necklace, but even that never gets brought up again.
Before you give your explanation, let me also mention that, because that's kind of something I wanted to just take a guess at for fun.
Yeah.
So in the episode, I mentioned Kevin is a monster, and this isn't entirely surprising. I don't know how that happened in this show, but his original power, and I guess his still power, is that he absorbs things. And even in the original show, he got stuck. I don't remember the circumstances, but he got stuck absorbing something. So from the little glimpses of the storyline, and it doesn't like really progress it that much. It doesn't really talk about it. It's just kind of there where Gwen and Kevin are fighting. So I assume he feels inadequate or like weird about being stuck as this monster, and he thinks Gwen has a problem with it, so he's pushing her away. He also has a necklace, which I assume he pulls out of his butt because he kind of pulls it from his behind. And also with the poop jokes in this episode, maybe that's what they were going for. Anyway, I guess that they're dating, and this is like, I don't know. You can go now.
No, all right. So, like I said, this season was sort of just thrown all together, and so at the very start of the season, Vilgax comes back for the first time, and then he'll keep coming back. So Ben's like, I don't know if I can face him or not, and Kevin's like, let's hack the Omnitrix. So they're trying to like hack into it to give him master control and all of that, and it goes wrong, and things happen to Ben that's unimportant. But with Kevin, he gets stuck in that mutated state. And he gets like a new power where he can shapeshift his limbs now instead of just absorbing materials, because that's how he would combat. Because whenever he absorbs alien DNA, he goes insane. So if he absorbs like materials, he's fine. But now he's stuck as all of these materials, and that's a whole thing that it really doesn't matter, to be honest. But like I said, the necklace thing in its own way, I'd like to say it's a redeeming part of the episode, but then it's never brought up again. Like I expected it to come up one more time
in the show.
Yeah, they never bring up the necklace again. Like I expected her to like maybe there's like she's wearing it sometimes, or like in the season finale it comes back, but it's just that's it. The only good part of the episode doesn't matter either. So it's like this episode can pretty much be skippable, yet it exists, unfortunately, and everyone has to deal with it. So
I got the vibe, and since behind the scenes, maybe I got the vibe that maybe the intention of this episode was to match together a lot of like horror movie tropes, because it's kind of like it's got the don't feed it a certain thing like Gremlins. It's got the kind of like, I don't know, Children of the Corn aesthetic at the beginning, where there's these little guys and they surround the adults and everyone's like happy about it or something. And it's got the popcorn. Like, was it the intention to kind of make it like a horror movie type thing, or?
To be honest, I don't even know. I mean, I guess they obviously like got some inspiration from those, but this, I just have so many problems with this episode that even trying to rewatch it last night, like I couldn't put myself to do it. I kept skipping forward every like couple of minutes or so, just because it's so hard for me to sit through. Like I would say the more you like the show, the more you end up hating this episode. So it's inconsequential. It's terribly written, horribly put together, and
I guess that's true. I mean, I'm not like insanely invested in these characters, and I still thought it was pretty bad. But if you like really like the characters and where the show was going, yikes.
Yeah.
Have just something small, but did you catch that like so they go on about how like it can now poop uranium or just something, and they're like, don't step on it, and how did Kevin step on it? It literally glows, and they're at night, and they're specifically looking for it.
Plot.
And then conveniently Kevin bounces on multiple of these. Like, how many times did this alien poop?
Yeah, they're all like the perfect distance apart to keep him like going in a train.
Yeah, it's dumb. It is dumb. I agree.
Yeah, this next coming episode you got is actually one I like. I wouldn't say it's my favorite or it's like a super good episode, but I like watching this one. But I chose it just because it's still a very strange one out of context. But I wouldn't say this one's horrible.
So it's season 3, episode 17, still season 3. Ultimate Alien, or sorry, Ben 10, Ultimate Alien, Night of the Living Nightmare. So in this episode, at the beginning, Ben is sleeping and he fights a little evil jellyfish-looking thing that attaches to his head, and then spends the rest of the episode with like everyone in the town is missing, and then he keeps running into old enemies. Eventually, he runs into negative Ben 10, which this is going to be the most fun to talk about because I don't understand. I understand the concept of a negative Ben. I don't know if it's an alien. I don't know if he's like a clone of Ben. I don't know. I'm going to take some fun guesses and be wrong. He runs into him, and then twist ending. It was actually Negative Ben that got the jellyfish attached to him while trying to put it on regular Ben, and it's all been his nightmare instead of Ben's. And that's it. So this episode, this was the one I liked. Of the 4 episodes that you showed me, this is the one that I really liked. I thought this was the best. Because basically the thing is that from an outsider's perspective, it looks like this is some sort of kind of continuity, not extravaganza, where there's a good amount of aliens that get shown off in the episode. There's at least 3 or 4 enemies that get shown off. Gwen's light form exists, and I actually know about that. That's because Grandpa was freaky with an alien, I think, and that's their grandma.
Yep.
There's just kind of a lot of that feels like it's a big continuity nod thing. And surprisingly, even though I'm not like too caught up on the show, as you know, I actually kind of got some of it. And even though I didn't get all of it, I could still kind of appreciate what they were doing. The big thing for me in this episode is that it doesn't really have a story. Like, after what we think is Ben goes under, Ben doesn't actually figure out it's a dream until very, very late in the episode. Therefore, there's no actual progression. Like, typically in like Stuck in the Dreamland or Stuck in the like VR system episodes, there's like some MacGuffin or something. There's like, if you can get to this room, that's where the power shutoff is. Or if you can, find X person, that's another real person in the game, and you can save yourself. There's usually some sort of goal to get to save yourself, and there's none of that. So Ben mostly just kind of wanders around running into enemies. And although I think it's really cool and there's some really cool stuff in here, ultimately the lack of narrative really hurts it. I think that twist is really cool. Did not see that coming in any way. Totally set up by Ben spilling the drink at the beginning of the episode, and it does make sense. I don't know too much about Negative Ben, but from what I see, it definitely makes sense for him to feel the way he does about Ben instead of Ben's own subconscious kind of coming up with some of this stuff. So yeah, I think it's a very cool episode. There's something like 9 aliens. There's at least 9 aliens that I noted down in this episode that Ben transforms into. Ben or Negative Ben. And that's cool. I don't remember any of the shows, none of the episodes we saw certainly, where he transforms into that many aliens in a single episode. So that's kind of at least a rarity in terms of the earlier shows. So it was cool. Some of the fight scenes were pretty cool. Oh, I really like Kevin and Gwen's speech to Ben about how he just kind of blindly rushes into battle. He always is getting the glory. He's always the one getting the cool powers. He's not really grateful for a lot of it. And I don't know how true this is of Ben as of this show, but at least in the first show, that is 100% true of Ben. Ben is a glory hog. Ben is, it makes sense because he's a kid, right? You're not necessarily like mad at him because of it, but you could definitely see it's been a theme even back to the first show where at the very least Gwen was a little jealous of what that Ben got the powers and that Ben is the one that has to save the day and gets to save the day. And so to kind of have the show acknowledge it and give a speech about it is kind of like really neat. It's like an interesting character analysis on at least early Ben. And then I noticed at the beginning of the episode, Ben sleeps with his shoes on. So that's weird, but I guess it's in the dream world, so maybe he doesn't. I don't know. The other thing is that the title gives the episode away. Like, if it wasn't obvious it was a dream from the beginning, which I think anyone who is seasoned in dream episodes knows that it was going to be. The title is literally displayed on the episode, and it has nightmare in it. So any like suspense or surprise with that part is like gone. And if you're going to give away the twist that like just in the title, you should at least have Ben figure it out early. So that was a little frustrating, but yeah, I thought it was a good episode overall. I think maybe with a little more context, I could have thought it was a great episode. Oh, and the theme song. So the actual intro is really cool, like the visuals with all the aliens. The theme song still makes me yawn though. It's like just another orchestrated remix of the Ben 10 theme. It's like a sub menu of the DVD. So the aliens, I think one is named NRG.
Yeah, it's like XLR8, where it's
Okay.
like it's energy but spelled out NRG.
I guessed that actually. So Energy, he's not in the episode long enough for me to really have an opinion on him. I like Forearms' sleeker redesign. Like Vilgax, Forearms also looks like he lost a little weight. I kind of miss like a little more of like the muscle mass on him, but I think the redesign is cool otherwise. Ultimate Spider Monkey, I'm guessing at this point that's what the ultimate alien is. Ben has Mega Evolutions now. I guess before Mega Evolutions was the thing. I didn't really like how the ultimate Spider Monkey was like kind of just a gorilla with mechanical legs. Like they didn't really do too much with him, but I do like that it might be a nod to like Spider-Man's Iron Spider suit. from the comics, not from the movie, obviously, because yeah. Lone Star, I don't like him. I don't understand. It's like Echo, but his head can come off. He doesn't exactly do a great job with them in the episode, but I don't like the design, and the powers seem really lame. There's a shark fin guy who I described. I couldn't catch his name. He also looks weird. That's all I had to note down. There's also a chameleon alien. Like, I feel like this is maybe getting into like the newer aliens where it's just kind of like, he's a chameleon and an alien. He can go invisible. Ooh, good job. Way to design that. Yeah, great. Swamp Fire, it's cool. I think he's a little over-designed. I don't like the red fire stuff coming out of like the torso. But otherwise, he seems like a cool alien. And then Fast Track, I don't understand the point of having accelerate but not accelerate. Like, why are there aliens that do the same exact functions as Ben's previous aliens? Like, I know Swamp Fire is kind of similar to Heat Blast, but at least Swamp Fire did something else. In this episode, Fast Track is just literally, I don't know, man. I don't know. They wanted new toys. So anyway, now you can explain.
Okay, so quick recap of a couple of the smaller points. So Lodestar, his powers are magnets, while Echoes are sound waves. So that's their difference.
Oh, okay. Excuse me.
Yeah, but no, yeah, like it doesn't, in that episode, it doesn't do a good job of it. The shark guy is Edel. He sucks. So there you go. Edel, like beetle and eat. I'm surprised you didn't bring up anything to do with Julie or her armor. Ben has a girlfriend, and they have a pet, which is like a dog version of one of Ben's aliens, Upgrade.
Yep.
And she can form armor around him.
Huh. Okay.
So there, yeah.
That's not how Upgrade works, but okay.
Nope. So Evil Ben.
I'm sorry. Yeah, hang on. I gotta give my thoughts on Evil Ben.
Yeah, let's hear about Evil Ben.
Okay, first of all, there's a line in this episode. The only line in any of these episodes you showed me that actually really made me laugh. Where Vilgax breaks Ben's car, and Ben's like, "Do you have any idea what insurance costs for a teenager driving a sports car?" That was a really self-aware line. Okay, so there's Evil Ben, hereby known as... Wait, let me see. I think I wrote it phonetically, what I think it sounds like. Albedo? I can tell he's supposed to be negative Ben because Ben has a green color scheme, and the opposite color of green is red. I'm gonna guess that, like, someone extracted Ben's DNA from the Omnitrix and made an evil clone of him just for kicks. Maybe Vilgax. He seems to have, like, severe inadequate adequacy issues in relation to Ben. He also doesn't seem very smart. He seems a little bit more like younger Ben. All right, that's the guess I'm going with.
Before I explain what Evil Ben is, did you notice he didn't have a device to transform with? It was all mental?
I didn't, actually.
Oh, well, he originally did. So his whole backstory is super convoluted.
Okay.
But what's funny is Ben 10 deals with a lot of alternate versions, clones, timeline things, and this is actually the only one that's not any of those. In fact, he's not even a Ben.
What?
He's a gray matter.
What?
His name is Albedo or Albedo, which is also annoying because they changed the pronunciation of his name through series.
He's not the guy who made the Omnitrix, right?
He helped the guy who made the Omnitrix, and Azimuth, the real maker, deemed him unworthy. So he wanted to make his own, but because he was not as good, in order to get his to work, it needed to be synchronized to Ben's Omnitrix, making his default transformation a human. And since the Omnitrix's default DNA is Ben's, it makes him look like Ben. So he goes after Ben. Stuff happens, his Omnitrix breaks, and it damages his human form, inverting all the colors. So now you can tell the difference between them. Yep. Huh. So then he gets this device called the Ultimatrix, which can evolve all of Ben's aliens. But then Vilgax convinces Ben to give him the original Omnitrix for reasons. So Ben now needs a new Omnitrix. So he takes the Ultimatrix from Albedo, but then Albedo gets damaged again through another episode's series worth of events, and now he can mentally transform without a device, but he's still stuck looking as Ben.
That sounds awesome, actually.
Yeah. So he gets a lot of human characteristics that Ben's do. Like, he has an addiction to chili fries, and he hates it. But he's always eating chili fries and stuff.
Huh. All right. I dig that. That's actually less. I mean, that's crazy. but it's not bad crazy. It's insane in a good way. It's less stupid than I was expecting. I was kind of right a little bit about like, and I knew it had something to do with the Omnitrix. Yeah. Yep.
So what's interesting is the Kevin and Gwen speech that you said you like. If you think about it, since this is all in his mind, what they're saying is how Albedo views Ben. And he's like using Gwen and Kevin as avatars to like tell Ben this message, but even so, like that's not really Ben either. The whole thing is fake.
Right.
So that's not even Ben. Yeah. So there are moments in the show where conflicts like that arise and everything. His stance as a hero does get challenged like that.
That's
mostly
good.
in Ultimate Alien. Yeah.
Because it deserves to be at times.
Oh yeah. Ultimate Alien does the best out of all the 4 shows that does things like that, which is one of the reasons why it's my favorite. But he does need to be put in check every now and then, just like in the original series. But he's a lot better than he used to be. I believe it. Albedo hates him so much. But yeah, continue.
So you were going to explain to me I guess you kind of did explain. So it's an Ultimatrix. Wow. Ultimatrix?
Yeah. So like Vilgax had Ben's friends and said, I'm going to kill him unless you give me the Omnitrix. So Ben does.
Wait, hang on. Ben can remove the Omnitrix now.
Yeah, he got quite skilled enough where he has this code where he can take it off if he needs to.
Okay, that's cool.
And now Vilgax has it, but then Ben like activates another code and says it's going to self-destruct if you don't give it back. And Vilgax thinks he's bluffing, and he's not. And then the Omnitrix actually does blow up.
Okay.
So it's gone forever. The original Omnitrix in the first and Alien Force is gone. So Ben's like, Albedo, if you don't give me that Ultimatrix, all gonna die. So then Albedo's like, fine, here you go. And that's how he gets the Ultimatrix, which blows up at the end of Ultimate Alien. So
is this the
yeah, the big gauntlet thing
of this? No, but like, is this the plot of the series? Like, has this happened in the first episode or?
Oh no, this happened in the series finale of Alien. All of Ultimate Alien is something quite different. Oh. But the point is now he can like evolve his aliens and give them some special perks and whatnot.
Why doesn't he do this all the time?
Everybody asks that. He has like 50 transformations and only 8 of them by the end of the series actually get ultimate forms, even though he could theoretically evolve all of him. My guess is the creators just straight up didn't want to design an ultimate form for every single alien, which makes me feel like if you're not going to, then don't even do it in the first place.
Dude, that's more toys. Do that. I mean, don't actually do that because that sounds really stupid. I'm sorry. Yeah, Ultimate Spider Monkey didn't do it for me though.
No, what pissed me off when I sent this to you actually is this is the only episode, and it's just a straight up animation error out of all of the Ultimate Aliens that I believe where he didn't have to use the original form first. Normally he has to become the alien and then make it go ultimate, and then there's this whole ultimate transformation sequence. Okay. This one he went straight into Ultimate Spider Monkey, and everyone was like, "Whoa!" But dream sequence, so whatever.
That's true. I mean, how do you feel about like the last ones I mentioned, like the chameleon and the jellyfish alien and the fast track?
Chameleon I don't really care for. I don't hate him. A lot of people, and I mean a lot of people, hate Fast Track specifically because he compares to Accelerate. I personally don't really mind him because like if you think there's like millions of aliens in the universe, obviously some are going to have abilities that overlap, and he has multiple strength aliens, he has multiple electric aliens. He is but everybody specifically has a problem with Fast Track, so it kind of makes me not want to hate him, because if it's just because of the fact his power is a duplicate per se, I don't feel like that's a good enough reason to hate him. The reason I also dislike him is because his design is kind of bland. That's why I don't like him.
Yeah,
he looks like a superhero, I guess. So
yeah, I mean the jellyfish alien kind of looked cool. He also wasn't in the episode long enough for me to really have too much of an opinion on.
Yeah, that's right there. That's another electric alien.
Of course.
And he can also read minds, but I don't think he did that in that episode.
Is Forearms like the most seen alien out of all of Ben's aliens in the entire franchise?
I want to say yes.
Because from my memory of the original show, I'm pretty sure basically the kind of like the 3 mascot aliens that Ben used a lot were Heat Blast, Forearms, and then once he got it, Cannon Bolt.
No, you're right on the money with that. In Alien Force, he got 10 new aliens. Didn't access his old ones.
Okay.
And then in Ultimate Alien, he could become everything he's ever become.
Even Ghost Freak?
Yeah. That's a whole thing. They make a thing out of it.
I believe that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Why is the Ultimatrix a communicator?
Just because it's convenient. They need
It's convenient for the story.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
It can every now and then it just does something random. Like sometimes it projects a map. Sometimes it I think one time it like teleported him. So it does whatever it needs to, and also turns him into aliens.
I really liked how this was the first episode of these that I saw where Ben switched aliens on the fly. Like, in the original show, I'm pretty sure the gray matter alien tells him that he can do it. Like, he can manually turn himself off, but like he can't really do that in the first show. I don't think that he can kind of like transform between aliens pretty fast. But in this one, he does it a lot, and that's really cool.
Yeah, no. As the series goes on, he can like switch from alien to alien. He like there's times where he doesn't even time out. He just turns back, and like it becomes they don't really explain it directly, but you can kind of pick it up. It becomes less about a time limit and more about how much Omnitrix energy it currently has. Like sometimes he can only be an alien for like 2 minutes before it times out, and then sometimes he's an alien for a few hours. So
makes sense.
Yeah.
I also do like that it seems like the show, at least as it's gone on, it kind of got away from that like really overused plot point of Ben needs to become the fire alien, so instead he's gonna be the amphibian alien. LOL. Because they did that so much in the original show. Like it happens in the Christmas episode where he wants to become, I don't know, I think 4 arms or something. He turns into gray matter because
they do it every now and then. It was so stupid. So in the first 2 seasons of Alien Force, they didn't do it at all because their explanation was in the classic series the Omnitrix was broken, so that's why the Omnitrix logo appeared in random spots on his body. It timed out. It gave him the wrong transformation. Whereas in Alien Force, it's fixed. It doesn't time out. Always gives him the right alien. And then like I said, they weren't allowed to do their 3rd season, so they were just like, make Ben more immature to get more ratings, make it more comical. So they brought back the mistransformation thing. But now they don't make it a plot point, and they don't do it nearly as much. Like he'll be like, I want to be Humongosaur, and now he's Stinkfly, and then he's kind of like, all right, and then they move on. So I don't even know why they still do it, but it's much less important now.
The last thing I have to say is just there's a point where Vilgax steps in front of a bus, and Ben's like, I wouldn't stand there. Actually, go ahead. And it's like, at this point, Ben has no idea it's a dream. It's like, Ben, are you okay with that bus driver dying a grisly death just because he's going to hit Vilgax? Like, the way the bus, they explicitly show just how badly damaged the front of the bus is. I guess Ben thinks that he's just going to pick up Vilgax and keep on going or something, but like...
you got to make some sacrifices to save the world, I'm sure.
I guess. Oh, man. All right. Season 8, Episode 3, Ben 10 Omniverse. Let's do the Time War again. The first thing, before you explain, just they had 8 seasons? Because, none of the rest of the show. I mean, but then I looked at the episode number, and it's like 7 episodes in a season for some seasons.
Yeah, in the first like 3 series, there's like anywhere between 13 to like 20 per season, and in Omniverse it's like 10 per season. But even so, it still did get the most amount of episodes. It had 80 episodes, and all the others averaged between like 40 to 60. So it was still pretty long.
So why did you pick this episode? Because this is the one that kind of seems like the odd one out to me, because the other 3 episodes are all just really bizarre for one reason or another. This one is certainly weird, but if this is as weird as the show gets, then I'm disappointed in how weird the show gets.
No. This one I picked, trust me, there's a lot worse episodes in terms of weirdness and in quality, but this one I picked because I felt like it had the most elements in it that if you didn't know what they were, they would genuinely confuse you. So I was looking back.
That's fair.
Yeah, so.
All right.
Good luck with this one.
So, okay. It's one of those kind of time loop episodes where if you ever seen like Bender's Big Score, or I guess that's not even a great example. It's just kind of like one of those episodes where we go back to the beginning a few times, and Ben and his alien friend who is definitely not a fish alien. They, I say that because I thought it was. You corrected me in a
he's like a cat.
What?
He compares himself to a cat a lot. He's like, I have feline attributes and whatnot.
Okay.
So
all right. Well, I'm glad to see that Ben finally found some new friends. Anyway, so they're driving along in, dude, I don't know, something with Grandpa Max's face on it, like some truck with. I won't be here all day if I go into details. Anyway, they're driving along.
Wait. Before you go on, it's not really a spoiler, but I forgot. Did the truck transform into a spaceship in that episode?
What? No.
Okay, then never mind. Continue.
There's transforming, but no. What? Okay. Anyway, they're driving along. They run into something, and there's villains, and then future Ben 10,000, comes back in time with Paradox, who very certain was not in the original show. They come back in time, and there's like a time monster that's on the loose, and they gotta stop him. And then they go back in time again with Ben and the fish alien, the not fish alien, and then they do that again. And it's basically just kind of like there's lots of time duplicates of Ben and the fish alien running around. And I don't know. This episode was not. It was better than the first two episodes we talked about, but it wasn't very good. In part because it didn't seem to really justify its need to time travel. Like typically, it seemed like they kind of set up where this guy only time travels and like Ben 10,000 only comes back for like important things. Because typically you wouldn't want to mess up the timeline for anything less than like something really important happening. But like it just seems like there's just this time monster, which okay, it definitely seems bad because it turns things to dust. But like I don't know, dude. Ben could probably handle it. Like realistically, this is not something you need to time travel like 3 times for. There's also other enemies. There's some sort of time war they're setting up for, which I couldn't tell you. The episode is needlessly complicated. Like, I just don't understand. I feel like also Ben 10,000 himself should have been able to solve the problem pretty easily. Why did they time travel to that spot and not the spot before the alien hatched and like they could just easily stop it before it happens? You get into the, like, this episode raises all of, like, the time travel questions. Finally, this is an intro sequence that didn't put me to sleep, so that's good. The intro looked cool. The gimmick, and I've heard this described to me, but the gimmick of this show is that sometimes younger Ben is also along for the ride because Cartoon Network wanted young Ben back, but they weren't quite ready to reboot the franchise. Young Ben doesn't show up in this show, although I guess technically a version of Young Ben, because old Ben appears and different time versions of Ben appear. Also, there's a slime thing attached to the Omnitrix, and I've actually heard you talking about this, so I know a little bit about it. This slime thing is the worst thing ever. He's a jerk. He's not nice. Like, he's not a pleasant character to have along for the ride. He completely ruins the aesthetic of the watch, of the alien transformations, of everything. He is literally a giant, like, someone stuck a giant booger onto Ben's watch, and it's gotta be there for the whole episode. Ben tries to shake him off. He will not come off. And he doesn't even look like he's on there that well, but nope, apparently he can't be removed. And the aliens, it looks like he's got, like mucus, like, morphed to him. And the only thing he does is give Ben a weapon based on a different alien, which I will admit sounds like a cool idea in theory, but ultimately what that means is just that, like, basically it's like, why
didn't he just turn that into that alien himself? I know. It's like, it's the biggest waste of time.
Yes! It's like, here, I'm going to transform into this weird monster thing, but I'm gonna shoot Lego bricks when I could have just transformed into the Lego brick alien in the first place. Like, I see how there could be possibility for cool things, but judging by this episode alone, I mean, regardless, this was definitely made to sell toys, and there's a story behind that, as you told me, which I want you to tell again when we get there. But like the whole thing with the slime monster, and the episode isn't about it. Ben mentions it, at least, like, for the uninitiated. He mentions that it's stuck to the watch, so that's cool. Of all the weird things that happen in the episode, that is easily the worst element of this episode. I have not seen any other episode of this show, but I can tell you that I guarantee you that's probably one of the worst parts of the entire show. Maybe the franchise even. I'll be that bold because I really didn't like this piece of slime. I'd like it more if at least it had a nice personality. Anyway, there's also, like, other villains. Is the female villain a version of that chameleon alien?
Yeah.
Yeah, I nailed that. All right. Good. And she's dating another thing. Also, is there like is there fusions between aliens in this show?
Yes.
Okay.
So every time Ben meets his future self, it changes, and he's met his future self. This will be the third time now. So there's two other Ben 10,000s. One I'm pretty sure you saw in the original.
Yes.
The second one can use all of his alien's abilities while in human form, which
What?
sounds cool. It sounds cool, but the execution just makes it so lame. You would hear that and you would picture all these cool things happening, but they don't really do anything with it. He's kind of just he shoots fire out of his hands and stuff.
Oh.
And I don't know, it's kind of lame. So this one, he has this thing called the Bi Omnitrix,
Excuse me?
which is two Omnitrixes. And he slams them together and he fuses together two aliens. And that's it.
This one, I think, was Upchuck and some alien I'm not familiar with.
Way big. His
Way
power
big.
is he is colossally huge.
Please tell me, like, actually, no. I know this for a fact. I was going to say, please tell me that, like, 40-year-old Ben doesn't still name the aliens stupid things. But I know from the original Ben 2000 that he doesn't. And then he's happy, or a young Ben is upset at this, and then he changes his mind at the end, which is dumb.
Oh no, now what he does is he just takes the names that he already made up and fuses them together. So he's got Crash Hopper, this grasshopper jumping alien, and then he's got Shock Squatch, and he fuses them together and he's like Crash Shocker. So or Humongoopsaur.
That's
Or Formungosaur. I don't like it. I don't like it at all.
This is the level of stupid I was looking for.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, there's these the motorcycle looking things, like Tron vehicles, basically.
Time
Time cycle. God. And they're already ridiculous and stupid looking enough that, like, for whatever reason, they just have these things. And then they transform into, like, a plane. Why? Why is this Transformers? How do and not only that, but at least, like, with Transformers, I'm not gonna say it makes sense that they can transform into giant monsters and cars, but, like, at least, like, there's a lot of parts to a car. Like, there's no way that these tiny little motorbikes are able to transform, and the people are still safely sitting inside while they transform into it just looks dumb. I'm sorry. Like,
it's funny that you say that because, like, I was thinking back when the Alien Force intro is kind of like the Justice League intro. So whoever's like not really the showrunner, but like has a bigger influence in the production of the show, kind of seeds their ideologies into the show. So the head guy, Dwayne McDuffie for Alien Force, he worked on Justice League Unlimited and Static Shock. So he was put on to make Ben 10 more like the Justice League. So I thought it was kind of funny that you said that. I didn't want to bring it up, but now that you've said this, the art director of this show, Derek J. Wyatt, is a huge Transformers fan. And there's multiple episodes where they're just hiding Transformers like references or like characters and like and everything to it. So this is just, when I saw that, I was like, they're really pushing it now.
Weird.
Like, yeah.
Oh, so in terms of new aliens, this one is actually not too alien heavy. I guess there's not enough time for that when you've just got there's not enough time. Oh god. The aliens are okay, so there's the Upchuck fusion thing. I didn't take any notes on it, so I must not have thought it was too great or bad. The voltage alien looked pretty cool. Like that, I could dig that guy. The red rock monster alien looks like complete trash. I would not want to come within like 10 feet of that thing because it, like, the swirl on its belly, it looks like it's a planet with warts on it or something.
Yeah, he pretty much is. His name is Gravitack. And he has gravity powers.
Like he forms he helps make a black hole, which is cool. Like, the powers seem like okay, but just why is his face stretched like that? It looks bad. I'm sorry. I feel like I'm a Gen 1er, like, being like, oh, the Pokemon designs these days. But, like, I do legitimately think that some of these newer aliens are really stupid looking. I'm sorry. Do people like the Red Rock Monster?
So a lot of people are really on the fence about it just because they're very exaggerated. All of the Omniverse aliens have extremely exaggerated features like that. So if you can look past it, great. But some people just, they can't. And I completely understand that. Because So some of them I really can't either. Gravitack I don't really have too much of a problem with, as much as some of the other ones. Like they're a bit odd looking.
And I should have probably said this at the beginning. Maybe I'll add a disclaimer, but just that, like, me doing this, like, out of context, like, it's for fun. Like, I'm not expecting, like, I'm not complaining that these episodes aren't explaining anything to me. I'm not, like, I understand that if I saw more of these aliens, or if I saw them from the start, like if I knew more about the redesign, I would probably have an appreciation for them. This is just for kicks. Like, don't be like, oh, Pie Guy, like, what are you, some kind of idiot jumping into the middle of the show and expecting? It's like, no, that's the point of this video. So calm down, everyone.
No, it's all good.
My kind of, I guess, review part is just that this episode was okay. Like, it held my attention. I did not feel bored. The slime thing, just completely awful. Cannot stand it. The time travel plot, definitely not original. But I like that this version of Ben 10 has a better color palette, and it definitely has a better sense of fun than the previous two. You know, hey, serious shows are great too. Like, but I do like that this energy, like, there's a certain energy to this episode that the other ones really didn't have. The episode, it felt like it went by very fast, and I wasn't bored. And I kind of feel like it's forgettable because I don't really remember too much about it, and I watched it last night. But like I said, it went by fast, so I wasn't bored. It was entertaining. It's cool to see Ben 10,000, and they have some fun with the time duplicates. So yeah, I mean, I'd probably give it like a meh if I was going on my traditional scale or whatever. Probably the second best aside from the dream episode.
Like I said, I chose it just because it had the inexplainably random things happening in it. That it's just it's a cluster. So with Skurd, they call him a slime biot. They call him one more thing that's supposed to be like the super scientific term for him, but whatever. And at the beginning of season 8, he's this DNA hungry thing. Like he feeds off of DNA, and he finds Ben's arm, and he's like, oh, there's so much alien DNA in here, I'm never leaving. And then he just doesn't, and he's there for the rest of season 8 in every episode. In every episode they got to reintroduce and show off his stupid powers that don't really do anything. And then in one episode they have the nerve where, like, Ben, he gets so fed up with him, he gets him removed. And then he goes up against Vilgax, and he starts losing, and he's like, I need him, I really do. And then he gets him back, and all he does is just give him the very same powers that he has himself. So he's just a big waste of time. He's a waste of screen time.
And he looks awful. He looks awful attached to the aliens.
He does, and he's absolutely annoying too. Like every quality about him, I feel like people can be like, well, at least he has this. I still don't like. I don't like anything about him.
Agreed.
Paradox. He's just this guy. He tried building. You're right. He wasn't in the original series.
Yes.
He first showed up in Alien Force. He was this guy back in the 1950s. He was trying to build a time machine for the U.S. government or whatever, and he got lost in time space for like millennia. And he said in his own ways, like, he went so crazy that he became sane, and now he completely understands how time and space works and can just like time travel mentally and everything. And he kind of every time there's like some crazy mess going on in the space-time continuum, he shows up and he was like, hey, Ben, I'm here to explain it all for you and the viewers. So
okay.
Yeah.
Is he like the
He's like Doctor Who.
Don't say that. He's like the Doctor.
Yeah.
Sorry. You made everyone mad.
Whoops. My Whovian card has been rejected.
That all makes sense. I mean, it doesn't make sense, but I believe that based upon what I saw of this character.
Yeah.
Is it explained like why they don't travel back to before this happened and stop it from happening?
It isn't in this episode. They probably did try to like go even before then or a little bit after multiple times over and over again, and just failed. So now they're just trying to get in anywhere they can. But I don't know, to be honest.
Okay. The villains. So what was up with so those are recurring villains, Chameleon and her boyfriend, giant monster guy?
They're recurring villains in the 8th season. Every season has its own theme. This season is the Time War. So like the Time War is like it's the whole season. They're like, so the big guy, he was made by Dr. Animo.
I know him. Yep. He's in like the 2nd episode of the original show.
Yeah, exactly. He built this rhino dude. Okay. Subdora just kind of shows up, and they're both working for this big clock guy who was shown at the
Right.
very, very end of the episode.
Okay. Thanos.
Yeah, Thanos. So his whole thing with this episode, those time beasts, they lay these eggs, which you see, and he
Yes.
wants to use these eggs to power his time chariot. So he can go back to the beginning of creation and remake the universe in his own image. So in this
Okay.
episode, it's all about him getting the time eggs, and that's how it fits into the whole plot. But on its own, it's kind of just things happening, going through
Yeah.
time.
It's kind of like Thanos in the Avengers, where it's just like, he's here at the end. Hi. Like,
Yeah,
this is all part of some sort of plan.
I'll come out soon.
Yeah, like, it very much did remind me of that, because they're just kind of on some random planet, and you kind of, I don't remember if you see him in silhouette or like you just barely see him or something, but that's what it felt like to me. I'm like, well, this is built into something. Is Gwen and Kevin in this show?
Gwen went to college early, and Kevin moved in with her. So
Oh,
they show up. They show up
whoa.
every now and then. Yeah.
All right. Okay, that's good.
So like, yeah, they did that because they felt like in Ultimate Alien they were making too many episodes focused on Gwen and Kevin.
Mm.
So when the fourth series came around, they said, let's just get rid of
I was gonna be honest. I was kind of getting sick of him, and I only saw 3 episodes with Gwen, 2 episodes with Kevin. I don't know. I feel like seeing 3 whole series with Gwen and then 2 with like, yeah, I'm cool with Ben
Yeah.
getting another partner, but I would be sad if they never showed up. So that's good.
No, they do show up, which I like, but I love Rook, to be honest, the
Okay.
non-fish man.
It's not that I didn't like him. He just didn't exactly leave any impression in this episode, to be honest.
Yeah, no, this was a very weak episode for him. Like he's typically the dynamic between them is Ben, he's all experience. I mean, all experience, no training.
Mhm.
Rook is like all training, no experience. So kind of the whole buddy cop thing.
Oh, because he's a rookie. I get it.
Yeah. So whenever there's episodes where there's not really much for him to do, he kind of regresses into his default personality where he doesn't understand Earth culture and talks very intellectually, and sometimes it can get like very. So
the one more thing or whatever he's called. Why can't Ben get rid of, like, he's just attached that hard?
he's just stuck. That's it.
But it doesn't look like, it's just so bad. I don't know. There's so you told me about this before we decided to do this, but you told me that he was made for a toy line that never happened.
Yeah, so Bandai, the company in charge of all of the Ben 10 toys, they wanted to put out a toy line where they can take their existing action figures and just either they sell just parts that you can snap onto them, or they'll resell the figures with like attachments and everything to try to like make a whole thing out of it. But by that point in time, the ratings for the show dropped so low, half because of lost interest, half because their advertisement is horrible. So by the time the episodes were actually airing, they already agreed not to do the toy line because it would have been a financial flop. So now he's in the show for no reason. He was never intended to be there. He was only there to sell the toy line. And now that the toy line was never made, he shouldn't even be there in the first place. Like, he's completely inconsequential.
And if I'm understanding correctly, this was the last season of the last show of the original continuity.
Yeah.
And he's there.
Yep.
What a way to go out on.
I know.
And
like Ben 10 got a horrible mistreatment for its ending. Because like they knew the ratings were going down, but they figured instead of trying to do whatever they can to revive it, they aired all of the newer episodes at 6 a.m. With no advertising. They didn't even like post it on their website. They didn't have commercials or anything, so that it would purposely get horrible ratings so that they can get some of their money back in taxes. And then just reboot the show, I guess, in 2 years. So it's kind of like they gave up on the last like 2 or 3 seasons.
And I mean, that's it really sucks that they were forced to do the slime alien thing, but I will give the writers like no slack on that, because just because they were forced to do it doesn't mean they had to make him a really annoying personality. Doesn't mean the design had to look so awful, and it like, God.
Yeah, I feel like if he was at least not annoying, like if I at least enjoyed seeing him, I wouldn't care. But it's just, I really don't like him at all.
Why is he even a character? Honestly, if it was just some like weird DNA that attached to Ben's Omnitrix or something, like, I feel like that would be better. But just the fact that like, not only does he look bad, is he annoying, is he like just kind of stuck there, but like then he has the nerve to be like, ooh, I don't like talking to Ben. Like, finally, someone I can talk to when he sees time duplicate version of himself. Like, God,
Yeah, then leave.
I really hope that that's not what like the weird Mega Man inside Mega Man's head in that new show.
Oh yeah, that's gonna. Ugh.
Because that's what this reminded me of.
I'm on the fence about that.
All right, well, thank you very much for doing this. I am definitely more interested in Ben 10 now. I'm tempted to try to marathon the show. I probably will go back and rewatch the original because I've been on like a mid 2000s Cartoon Network kick with Teen Titans, so that I feel like Ben 10 would kind of be a nice follow up to that.
All right, I will say if you do give it a shot, Omniverse aired out of order, which ruined a lot of things.
Great.
Like things will happen out of nowhere, and then at the next episode, like they'll discover how to make it happen. So if you want to actually do it, message me for the real episode list, and you'll have to like click around to make it make sense.
Wow, I enjoyed having you explain the show to me more than I enjoyed most of these episodes. So thank you very much for coming on.
No problem.
I know there's things that you would like to plug, so please plug away.
The only thing I really want to plug is on my website I have this comic series going called 5 Years Later. It's been my passion project for the past almost 2 years now. I work on it with two of my buddies, Insane Maine, look him up on DeviantArt, and my buddy Hershey. He doesn't really have much social media, but it's been something we've hardcore been working on for a very long time. I'd really appreciate if people checked it out. Even if they think you wouldn't like it, just go on, check it out, and hate on it. I don't care. But yeah, I also have a YouTube channel. That's a thing. So if you want to give any of that your attention, I would be gratefully appreciative.
If you liked him talking about Ben 10 here, there's a lot of other videos where he talks about Ben 10. But yeah, if you guys like this kind of format, let me know. And yeah, please check out his channel. He's got some really cool videos, and he does some really cool artwork. So yeah, all right. With that, PIEGUYRULZ out.
See you guys. Keep it fizzy.